Well, then I guess we will go over things we've talked. Luckily, we only talked about two things so far, so we'll get into it real quickly. The first thing was talking about the Dungeons and Dragons movie coming out on March 31st. He's saying if you could raise Paco a little bit more.
Okay.
But anyway, so D&D is coming out on March 31st, and the reviews have been fantastic. It's been really, really positive. I've actually not seen a negative review yet. We were just saying how much we were both looking forward to seeing it.
Okay.
I got my tickets for the 31st, and it's a strange world that we're living in, where a D&D movie is coming out, and it's good. So they obviously have things in good hands. So if this film makes money, what the company needs to do is to give the exact same writers, exact same directors carte blanche to do whatever they want and not get in their frickin' way. Let them continue to produce this and let them have their fun and not get in the way with executive notes.
Except, firstly, I am absolutely yes, RPG Craft. I would be delighted to hear from you and say thank you in person, and definitely review whatever you want me to, because you've done it a solid. And Greg Favro is here. That's amazing. You walked in just on time, because we have been live for about 15 minutes with no audio whatsoever because OBS messed it up. So we were basically starting again. So that's totally fine. And we were talking about the D&D film, which I said I am very much looking forward to watching it. And I am very much looking forward, if the film is as good as it seems to be, to seeing a lot of people eating an awful lot of humble pie, because people have been shitting on the film since it was announced, of how bad it was going to be, that Chris Pine wasn't any good, the whole thing was going to suck very much, the why D&D, and it's a bit like, well, now we have
in defense, it was a safe assumption to stand on.
Well,
we've had 3 bad movies up until now. It's one of those situations where prove me wrong, and they are proving us wrong, and hopefully.
The thing is, 15 years or more since the last D&D film before this one. It's a long time.
Which I didn't see.
You see, don't, and I would say don't bother with those. I mean, if you have nothing else to do, those are the kind of films that you can watch them while you're doing anything else, like being at the computer or anything, just for the sake of saying, oh, okay, yeah, they were that bad. But it's not something that I would invest a time of my life to really watch, because they are no good. That's
the irony is that the second and the third ones, the ones that went direct to video, they're actually not bad. In the fact that they at least tried to course correct. The cast is older, they're better acted. They tried to bring in more of the lore. It just didn't have the money, so it wasn't a very pretty looking film. But at least I give them credit for trying. So it's one of those situations, well, it's not a train wreck like the one with Jeremy Irons. I always like it when someone asks Jeremy Irons, why did you do the Dungeons and Dragons movie? His response was, I had just bought a castle. Exactly. Which is the only good answer to say why you started the Dungeons and Dragons movie is because you bought a castle and you were trying to restore it. And if you ever get a chance to see an image of Jeremy Irons' castle, it is glorious.
Well, that
I mean, it's a decent reason.
Yeah, and Jeremy Irons is a glorious man. So there you go. So anyway, Chris, you were also talking about this company that folded in Kickstarter, and what the company's doing now. It ain't all that pretty, is it?
Yeah, so first, this has happened on more than one occasion where a company has, when they're basically going bankrupt, and instead of trying to get the income or the revenue in order to finish distributing the game to their backers, they instead decided to take these games that were earmarked for backers and then sell them again in retail, basically stealing games that they didn't own to resell them in the open market again, denying backers their copies. So it's unfortunately, and the funny thing is, this is the second time this happened, as Palladium Games did this with the Robotech RPG Tactics. So unfortunately, and it was reported because I backed up Terra for $150, and a friend of mine just said he bought a copy at a local game store. I was just like, oh, yeah. But anyway, That was the other thing we're talking about. Everything else we can hold off because now we have a guest.
We do, and I was really looking forward to talking to Greg because I've played both of Greg's games, or at least the ones I know, the Spire's End and Spire's and Hildegard, and they are an absolute blast to play, which is great because I love the kind of choose your own adventure thing with cards. But I have a million questions to ask about this, Greg, because you've been designing Spire's End. There's been already 2 of those games. I bet there are going to be more of those. But are those the first games that you designed and sold?
Yeah, Spire's End was my first game. So I just made it from the ground up by myself, and then I had one artist that did the illustrations, and I did everything else. So
okay, yeah. So in that case, before I ask you about the whole design process, which is going to be something that I would like to feature quite heavily, but actually the game is very well produced, the physical copy. Did you have any idea about how to make a card game of that kind before you started?
I mean, in particular, no, but I've been a designer and an art director, for about 20 years now. So, I've made all kinds of different things,
okay.
DVD boxes, collateral of all kinds. I've made playing cards before, anything, brochures, instruction booklets, just, I worked for a shoe company for a while and did all their stuff for the sites and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I have that kind of a background. I just haven't actually made a game.
Which is okay. Now it makes sense, because one of the things that both Spires and Hildegard, in particular Hildegard, is a massive improvement, is that the game has been very well produced from the point of view of both the size of the cards and the typography.
This game looks beautiful.
It is actually very good, very, very good. The typography is brilliant. Everything was very well put together. So it didn't feel like it was the kind of game that somebody who's just decided, oh, I'm just going to make my game because I like it, so somebody else might as well like it. Yeah, and now it makes sense to why it was so well produced. But why did you decide to take the step and going from I just like designing this to I'm going to sell it?
Well, I was at a art director job that wasn't very glamorous. I wasn't working on stuff that really inspired me. And one day I was just walking to lunch and I was just like, I need to do something else. What can I design? What can I produce that I know I can do on my own? And I've had a game in my head, like my whole life, a game that I've wanted to play that no one's ever made. And I was like, well, what the hell? Let's just see if we can do it. So I just started, making notes, and I tried to come up with the game mechanic, and I just played the game mechanic over and over and over and over again all summer long. And I was like, okay, I think this works. I think the hook is good with the whole, spending your hit points to, do your actions. And then it was, the real key point for me was I got to find the right artist, and if I don't have that right look, I didn't want it to look like other stuff. It was like the last thing I wanted to look like is Magic the Gathering or any kind of traditional, not that there's anything wrong with it. I just didn't want it to look like that. I wanted it to have its own voice. And so many things I see are so similar that I was like, if I can't make this look like its own thing, since I'm a designer and I have that background. Long story short, I found somebody, Benjamin Wiseman, and it worked out really well. And we collaborated, and I think we made something that looks different. So much so that there was a big backlash when it came out because of all of the distress and everything that I put on it. Everyone thought that they had gotten broken basic games. They thought everything was streaked, and I had to send out like a little service announcement saying that there's nothing wrong with your cards. They're supposed to streak, and stuff like that. Each one was meticulously made with little splotches here and there, but people didn't get it. So
it happened.
Well, I find that very surprising, because I thought when I played the game and then I opened it, I thought the attention to detail was quite staggering. So I don't know, maybe because I'm also a designer, it didn't feel like out of place to me. And it's not something.
Yeah, I
that's
think
comfortable.
some people just got a little confused. I don't think they're used to that. I was
Mm.
doing some kind of like glitch design stuff with that game. I kind of wanted it. The point of that first one was I wanted it to be like something that maybe you found in a closet drawer that looked like it had been around since 1977, and you're like, oh, this looks cool. Let's dust this off and give it a try, kind of thing. But albeit with some modern aesthetics kind of tossed in. So that was kind of the idea, was to make it kind of look dirty and musty, at least for that first game. So
it worked. I think it worked very, very much, and very well indeed. How long did it take you to go from beginning to end? And knowing that you may have had the game from your head for a while, but how long were you in the designing the game proper and until you finished?
I think 2 years.
Okay.
2.5 years. I'd never done a Kickstarter, never done anything. I knew nothing. And I put that Kickstarter up, and I remember talking to the backer kit people, and I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but they told me, they had said, well, what's your email list? How many people are on your email list? And I was like, I don't have an email list. And they're like, well, if you don't have one, you're most likely not going to get any backers. And so I started to try and drum that up. And then a month later, I said, hey, I got 250 people on my subscriber thing for my site. And they're like, that's not going to do anything. You're going to get like a third of those people.
Yeah,
so
if that.
So I worked it out, whereas like, what's the smallest amount I could just barely survive? And then I put it up, and a half hour later, I was like twice that. And I just didn't know what happened.
I think what happened is that an awful lot of people, me included, saw that this could be absolutely brilliant, because you ended up with 2,595 backers for Spire's End.
Yeah, it was bizarre. I just expected, I thought I would get maybe 150 people. I was like, maybe I can just squiggle by. That was a big surprise. There was a lot of people talking me off of ledges and things. I was like, I'm going to be on the toilet for the next 2 weeks, just scared to death. But I survived somehow. And COVID happened right before I was delivering on my first game. So it's just like, I can't have too much sympathy. We're all in the same boat with something, right?
Yeah.
And then Spires and Hildegard literally trebled that number of people. Were you expecting that huge an increase in interest in the game?
No, but I thought I would do okay, because they always say, oh, you'll do better if you're successful the first time. So I thought maybe I'd get a third more, and if I was really lucky, double it. But yeah, it did. It went really well. Again, pretty surprised.
Really?
But I was thrilled, obviously. I mean,
dude, you did 7,437 backers. That is more than rather well. That is amazing. I mean, any Kickstarter or any crowdfunding that goes over 7,000, that's top notch. That's up there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was real exciting. This was a lot of fun. I was able to do, a lot more, afford a lot more art and stuff like that, and had an editor and stuff. So, and then the choices, like the cards, I ran into a lot of issues with those large cards. I was kind of naive and didn't understand some of the things that occur, when you go into a custom size and. Like sleevers, and I didn't even know there was a sleeve community of people. This was all new to me, so I didn't realize that I was going to be just crucified for a card size that you can't get, sleeves for. But I was trying to tell everybody, I made the cards look dirty.
Why would you want to keep them clean?
Yeah, I was like, I want you to have some friends over, order a greasy pizza, and just pretend like this is an old weathered game that, has been beat to hell, but people wouldn't
A
do
friend
it.
of mine,
So,
a friend of mine published a game that had 300, like 450 cards in it, and people were playing like, we can't sleeve the cards because of the case. You can't sleeve the cards and put them in the case. The guy's like, there's like 500 cards in this game. Why are you sleeving? You know how much that's
well,
going to
yeah.
cost you?
Well, that's same with mine. It's like 400 and something cards, and I had people complaining because and I worked it out. The tray, I custom, made that tray to fit the sleeves,
Yeah.
and they said it was too snug, and they didn't like that. And I was just like, I can't. So the next game that I'm working on, I am going to. Hopefully, you guys aren't too big a sleeve community, but I'm going to not consider. I'm not considering it for the next game as far as any design choices because it's just restricting and stressful, really.
Well, I used to be a sleever. I still am. Whenever I can, I sleeve.
It's like a
cards.
AAA meeting. I'm Paco. I used to be a sleever.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I have,
but
I have a problem.
you've been clean for how long?
Well, I've been
I've
clean.
been sleeveless.
I've been clean since we interviewed the Trays guy.
Oh, Noah Alderman.
That's one. And he explained in very plain terms, so any sleever could understand the reason why a lot of trays and boxes and stuff do not allow for sleeves to go in. And from that moment on, he explained that, size matters, not just the width, but also the height of the cards and the decks and everything. That it means that more often than not, you cannot literally make a dice, make a tray that you will be able to accommodate the sleeves in.
Without increasing the cost of the whole package, because now the box is significantly larger to accommodate.
So from
nobody cares. Nobody cares. They just want, what they want. When I tried to accommodate that, and with the Hildegard, I made it gave it extra breathing room so that, we could do all this. And then, when they're giving me the pallets and the packing list and things, I'm like, my God, why are there so many pallets? It's because, everything you do, it makes it bigger. You put them all together and you have more shipping costs and everything else. And, it came out, the box I love. But, I tried to make it as small as I could within the confines of that. And I'm just, like you guys are saying, it cost me and I'm not going to do it again.
Well, for what it's worth, I am a newborn unsleever. You have my support.
But you don't do a lot of shuffling.
I started unsleeving my Magic cards. Like, I don't need these.
Well, those get a lot of hand working, a lot of tapping, a lot of twisting. I can understand it, but
I think I may draw the line at deck building games. I think deck building games should be sleeved because you can handle those cards a lot.
Yeah. Mine, I kind of treat it. It's like a book, So you're going to keep thumbing through them, but
Yeah, no, but that's different. And again, I understand the reasons why people don't, prepare their boxes to be sleeved. So, no hard feelings anymore. 6 months ago,
I can really
we wouldn't be
appreciate your
friends.
price point. I can really appreciate your price point. By the way, one of the things that freaks out so many people is Kickstarters that are really, really intimidating. But I gotta hand it to you for having 2 pledge levels on the sequel, 1 pledge level in the first one, and it not being like it's $400 or for all these cards. It's like comparing it to something like how much Seventh Continent costs, which has a lot of cards, but you're still paying like $190 for a box. And your entry point's like 40 US, 30 US for the first box. So it's just like, well, that's not going to kill you.
Well, I think that's how I did okay. It was, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, there's this guy, he's unproven. We don't know, he hasn't done anything. And I was like, well, what will someone actually pay for something that's interesting that there's no, there's just, I have no resume at that point for that stuff, So I figured, that price, maybe people will just go, okay, we'll give it a shot. The second time I put it more, reasonable as far as, trying to make things work here, So, I bumped it up a little bit, but, still, yeah, I think it's reasonable. I still have people going nuts, about the price of it and this and that.
Still,
but
like, why is this thing $40 US? And like, why isn't it $20? I'm like, what world?
because
do you live in?
paper cost a lot, especially then, because all the problems. There was a lot of supply issues.
Well,
I was
just doing my game same time as yours then, because my game was it took 4 months for it to cross the ocean because of COVID. Did yours end up in Busan, Korea for 3.5 months? Because I'm like, I heard there was a zombie apocalypse. That might have been just a movie, but maybe it was in reality, because my crate's been stuck in Busan, Korea, and then
mine was
No, go ahead.
Sorry, mine was stuck right outside my window here because I live in the South Bay in Los Angeles, next to LAX, and so I could see all of the boats out there parked. I could literally see it from my bedroom window. I'm like, mine's out. It's one of those. It's been sitting out there forever. It was kind of eerie because they're never out there, but it was just a parking lot because no one could go in because there was just so much, that had to get through. So,
for me, my game was it had Noah Aldman game trays, injection molding. I had custom lathe bottles. I had something like 200 and some cards. I had custom lathe meeples. And people were just like, why is this game, $70 or it's like $59 US, $70 Canadian? And I'm like, because I has custom lathe bottles and custom meeples and 200 cards.
Because you'd like to be able to feed yourself and continue to do this.
Like, it feels really expensive. I'm making $10 a game. If it goes to retail, I'd make $10 a game.
Yeah, people don't understand. It's I had this one guy freak out on me because my little booster packs. He said, well, I can buy I don't know. He equated it to like a Pokemon booster pack or something. And I was just like, I'm a single, company working out of my garage. I'm not, Wizards of the Coast here. I can't.
Or Nintendo. Just like you can't go into the market.
They're like, well, I can buy, a pack of these for this. And I was like, well, that's great. They're a, an international company that makes umpteen millions of these things. I make 1,000 or something, so, but people just want what they want and they don't care how they get it. So
yeah, exactly.
Let's face it, some people should not be allowed anywhere near Kickstarter.
It's tough, man. It's tough. The crowd mentality on there. Things, the narrative switches and you're, playing damage control. It can really ruin a day.
Yeah, how not many people, when we talk about Kickstarter, not many people talk about that side of thing, even though I know a fair number of companies that have it really rough, even when they had to face some truly horrific events. I had a friend of mine whose husband died soon after she finished her campaign, and she, for obvious reasons, could not bear to work on that project, and she hasn't been able to. And I remember that about a year or a year and a half after him passing, she got messages in the, hey, how much longer are you going to be mourning? Can you finish the book already? Which is a bit, wow, you are the definition of a piece of crap.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much weird stuff like that. There's so many. Everyone's got their own situation.
So how do you cope with that? Because not many creators actually are forthcoming enough to say, well, this can be rough. How do you cope with it?
Well, fortunately, I haven't had too much nastiness, but I wonder what I can say here without getting myself into trouble. But
don't worry, no one listens to this.
Well, no, seriously, it's not much of talking badly about those people. They know they are assholes, and I can say that because I'm not going to get into trouble because, well, whatever, I'm not going to publish any games. But but what I'm interested in is you as a person, how did you ground yourself? What kind of things did you go through in order to avoid that kind of content, that kind of comment getting to you too much?
Well, I mean, for me, I kind of created rules at the start. You know, it was kind of like with the sleeve thing. It was like, I'm going to do this much for this group of people who want this certain item. And once I know they're going to ask for A, B, C, and D, I'm only going to give them A and B. And if they ask for C, I'm not going to give them any, room to breathe. It was kind of like my stretch goals. I had a very, very, very specific small group of stretch goals, and everyone's like, I have a bunch of people saying, when's the next stretch goal? I'm like, there's no more stretch goals. There's not going to be any more.
Well, stretch goals have always been one of the biggest problems. People overpromise.
Of course. And that was always, I'm a very conservative person when it comes to stuff like this. And it was my first thing. So I see all the horror stories, and I had got a lot of grief for that. And they're like, well, you're doing really well. Just add some more stuff. And I was like, no, I can't add more stuff. And they're like, well, I'm not going to back you then. You're giving me no incentive. All right. I can't, I'm not going to fight for that. The biggest problem I actually had was on Hildegard, because what I didn't know, because it was my second one, I had no idea that people were going to be so angry that I didn't have the first one available to include as an add-on. Because what I did was, I had one second run that I did, and I had 100 left over or something. And so I thought, oh, this will be cool. I'll make a second tier, and I'll add those 100 games on there for those who might want the first game. I didn't think anybody would care, or I thought everybody who had that game, everyone who wanted it had it. So, I put that on there, and then everybody just went bananas. They were like, you're withholding the game, and you should be making more of that game.
What?
And I was like, I didn't budget for this. I was like, they're like, dude, what's wrong with you? You've got people that want to buy the game, just make more of the game. And I was like, it's not that simple.
Of course, because you can just, do a Shazam and the games appear.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyhow, so I had to work that. It was when COVID was going, and I was like, guys, I can't just make more promises. I mean, this is crazy, and I got a lot of nastiness out of that. But I just had to be firm about it and keep repeating myself over and over. That pin thing, I don't know if you guys know, but the most trivial little thing, that whole pinning at the top of your comments feed now was like a godsend, because I had to keep repeating myself over and over. Now you can just pin something and it goes to the top and it stays there. It's like the best thing that ever happened. But I just had to keep repeating myself like a law enforcement officer or something, just saying the same thing over and over and over again with
Yeah, people will ask, you'll put out an update and going like for me, I'm like, okay, guys, so if you want to order a print on demand of this book, you can do it. This is not the offset physical book. That's part of physical rewards. But if you got the digital and you want to order the print on demand, you can. But just remember, these are not the offset rewards. First comment is, so are these the rewards for the offset people?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. I just said it. What, like, it's a number of times people are sometimes I try to be so nice, but I'm like, January 15th update, and that's all I'll say. I'll just say the answer is there. Please, for the love of Christ, read the updates.
Yeah. You make all these little no one reads anything, So I'll put the date right on there, and they'll be, I still have people. The guy last week say, "Hey, I didn't get my game," and I went on there looking, never filled out a survey on BackerKit, and I was like, I've sent you an email. It sent you an email weekly for like 5 months.
Yeah, I got those. Jamie Stegmeyer said he got people from Viticulture 3 years later going, I never got my game. He was just like, you never finished your pledge. It's like, well, can I get my game? Like, no, it's been 3 years. It's over. Like, what
I'm still being nice about it, but that's ending soon, because I can't.
Exactly.
It's people, boy. Oh boy.
The best part is like 2 months after you finish the Kickstarter, people are like, well, where's my rewards? I'm like, dude, I have to make it.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah,
it's like for me, that too. Well, people are just like, where's book 3? I'm like, book 1 and 2 came out in January and February. I am not a time machine. I can't write a third book in 3 months.
Or you get the opposite. Which is what I got. I did a little booster pack, and everyone was angry because I said that the second one was coming prior to them all getting the game, and so
Yeah.
there was a huge back. They were like, "Why are you releasing something when the game isn't out yet?" And I'm like, "Guys, I'm not doing that. I it's just that you can't win. You know, they're mad that you haven't brought anything out, and they're mad that you're bringing something out so closely to when they purchased it first." And now I'm getting the whole FOMO thing, which I didn't even know was a thing. I thought I had a bunch of angry. They're like, "You're a big FOMO guy, and we hate you." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, the FOMO is real. I'll tell you, and it takes a while to get under control. Been there as a geek. I've been there. You know, this absolute fear of I'm never gonna have this. Why don't you make it so I can have it? It took me about the best part of 15 minutes to get over that.
But I'm just like, to me, FOMO means good marketing. It means you have something that people want. That's what we want. We want people to want the stuff. I mean, I want to make something that people want to get.
I think that
they were like, it wasn't like a limited supply thing. It was just hey, I'm making more stuff for Hildegard, and they were mad because he was like, "Hey, I bought this thing thinking it was going to be self-contained. Now you're making more stuff for it. And I feel obligated to get it." You know.
Oh, that.
So my answer to that is I don't care. You know,
it's on you. Well, why would anybody?
I mean, just don't do it. You know, I mean, there's sequels to movies that I don't like, and I just try and pretend like they didn't happen. I don't get mad because I went and saw it. You know, I mean, it's I don't get it.
And quite frankly, it's just as easy as look at the next game that's being listed in the Kickstarter hot list. That's it. That will cure your fear of missing out on this thing and your obligation to buy it. You know, just buy something else. Piss off.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot to do with.
Can we talk about the game itself? Like, what is Spire and Hildegard? Like, what is this game? What's it about? How does it play? For those people who don't know.
I wanted to. The whole idea was that we have all these procedural and generated games. We have all these, games where you kind of you'd roll and you'd go to a book to see, the passage, and you'd have a random event that occurs. Like, I wanted to do a game where instead of having the random generated events that you flip through with the book, streamline it and actually make a story with a beginning, middle, and end, like a choose your own adventure book, but try and make it a little more sophisticated with really nice design. So, I mean, I went to film school and I was in the industry for a little bit, and my interest has always been, strong narrative games, and I wanted to work in, like just creating good stories. So I thought, well, I haven't seen this, at least I haven't seen anything that's doing that thing. So that was kind of the general premise. It's like a choose your own adventure card game, that's going to hopefully take you on a journey other than just random events or just a random dungeon crawler. It's supposed to be, it's like the opposite of what everyone kind of counterintuitive, where, like, hey, you can do this a billion different ways. And I'm like, well, that's great, but I have no association with anything. If I'm going to run into random goblins, that's fine, but I want to know why they're there. I want to, have this all connected. So that's kind of like the real general premise. And then I, as far as Spire's End itself, I kind of started with thinking about like Zork and
oh boy, are we old.
Yeah, and like kind of classic things when I was a kid, like the Time Machine and Soylent Green and Planet of the Apes and stuff like that I really love. So most people don't even know, but like the bad guys have Planet of the Apes type outfits on. It's kind of based on them. The guys kind of look like the guys from the Time Machine. The
Morlocks?
No, the Morlocks are from Planet of the Lost. But they're in there too. It's kind of like a conglomerate of my early childhood that I just kind of put together. Little Monkey Island, all that kind of stuff, point and click adventures. So I tried to do it, then make it kind of just dark and fanzine-ish, ish. Mm. So that was the first one. And then after doing that, blood and black and white for 2.5 years, I thought I can't do that anymore. I got to do something that's happy and a little bit, lighter. So I was like, I want to do like an adventure, like a little romp through the forest, a little lumberjack tale, Wizard of Ozzy type thing. That's just a lot of fun with a lot of quirky little instances and meetings along the way where you have a very simple premise, which is just a delivery quest. So I took kind of the building blocks of the first one, tried to throw out some of the things that people seem to dislike the most and keep the things that they like the most, and then just make the game I wanted to make. So, but do the inter universe thing where I kind of have, if you played the first one, you could play the second one and kind of pick up on
where you left
little characters and little events and things that kind of cross reference and things like that. But it all leads to the same place, the Spire. So the third game right now, Cannibal Island, which I have art for up on the site, will also kind of follow in suit, where we're having another character from the first game, and it's another lead up to that point. So so I'm kind of trying to create a little world here, and we're gonna follow different little vignettes of what's happening.
It's quite interesting that you say about creating a little world, because one of the things that I noticed or I felt when I was playing the games are the lore itself is very tight. The world seems to be very well constructed. Are you considering publishing something about the lore of the world itself, about the Spire, and as a, I don't know, maybe a role-playing game or a novella or something similar to?
I get that question a lot. Ultimately, which may not be the most satisfactory answer. Can you guys still hear me through this, or is it going off?
No, we can hear you.
It's gonna drop out soon, I think. But and then we'll see if I can continue without it echoing. Anyhow, we'll cross that bridge when it comes. The short answer is I haven't wanted to do that other than do it through other games. That's kind of how I wanted to approach it. It's not working?
Yeah, you're fine. You're totally fine.
Oh, okay. I was getting a...
Don't worry. If you drop off, I'll let you know. But so have you considered publishing something like a role-playing game about the Spire?
No, because that's really not... I don't think... Honestly, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I have what I need for that kind of complex system. I try and keep things kind of in a comfortable zone for me, and more or less I'm trying to keep a lot of numbers out of it, especially with Hildegard. I was trying to keep it kind of numbers free, stats free, like kind of character sheet free. And I'm trying to do that again, where I don't want, as a company, I'm trying to make it one of those things where you're not going to have pen and paper. You're not going to have too much complexity. There's kind of like a way the games work. I think role-playing games and tabletop RPG stuff, I think that's not going to be part of the plan. It's going to be more kind of similar things. I've thought about an art book. I've thought about maybe doing the cards in a book type thing. But yeah, short answer, it'll probably remain pretty similar to what we have going on.
That makes sense, but I've always got the feeling that it would render itself so nicely to graphic novels or role-playing game, something like that, because the lore is very tight. The adventure is very enticing. I think it would look amazing as a graphic novel.
I agree. I did have some meetings with some pretty well-known companies about some things like that, but they fell through. But I did mention that graphic novels was one of the things that I would be interested in doing. But yeah, it just hasn't come to fruition yet. But I agree. I would like to explore that, just not other kinds of games, really. Although I'm doing, I'm trying to do no pen and paper, no miniatures, no bookkeeping if I can. So
minimalist.
Yeah,
and a small footprint. But the next one's going to be a little. I'm struggling with that one.
So is it a trilogy?
No, I'm just gonna, like I said, the next one is well, it was Hildegard, and the next one's Rangataki. It's the Polynesian character. So I'm doing I'm doing like a tiki Polynesian RPG theme thing with some voodoo in there and stuff. So it'll be Escape Cannibal Island, and we'll do that character's journey to Seacrest where the Spire pops out. And we'll just see. I mean, I've got like a ton of different ideas for different games, but it just takes me so long and it's so taxing that, you know, there's only so much I can do.
What's the? I was just going to say that. Go ahead.
What's the development process of this? Where is it now?
Cannibal Island?
Yeah.
I'm doing it a little backwards this time. I decided that since I'm going to use a lot of the same, like the same box and the same thing, I kind of doing it, kind of, I guess, more like a movie where we're having like concept art done and things. So I've been kind of doing art first a little bit, and I have like the box and the instruction booklet cover done, and we've made some landscape things, and now we're kind of taking that and we're kind of creating the story with kind of some of these images in mind. So the first like 20 cards have been made, and some of the art is on them, and I have some of the bosses. Actually, the first cannibal is on the site. Who came out? It came out so cool. So we're trying to do it. I'm real excited about we have a new artist that's doing isometric landscape stuff. So the story has been laid out. We have all the beats. We know the major, you know, routes. We filled in the first like 20 cards, and now I've said stop because I want to work on the mechanics of the fights and feel comfortable with that before we continue like the fine writing of all the cards. So I'm kind of right now it's finishing up the art for the first 20 cards and working on the mechanics of the first encounter, making sure that I kind of can give it my stamp of approval, and then we'll go hard and go fast on the whole rest of it. But I don't know, it kind of tinkering around, but you know, like I'm working on it today.
Okay.
You know, I've been, you know, right now I'm coloring. It's my favorite part. I get black and white, you know, I get my line drawings and then I paint them up. So it's when I'm happiest.
Okay, fair enough. I'm very looking forward to that indeed. Chris, do you have something to ask?
Just curious. Like you said, you were a filmmaker at one point. How did that manifest?
Oh, I mean, this is something I always wanted to do, and I went to Chapman University in Orange County and went to film school, and then got like an internship at Sony Pictures, and then worked on Dilbert, the animated show, way back when, before you know, became such a hot topic.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was going to happen. You know, Scott Adams. It's funny too because that came. If you guys know about that, a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I remember I had one conversation with that guy on the phone, and he was just nasty to me. I was like, I always knew that guy was a jerk. But, and then I worked on The Tick, the first one with Patrick Warburton.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Which was cool. It was actually that was really cool. And then I went on to some little pilots and things, and I just felt like it wasn't for me. And then I hopped out with a lot of my friends who hopped out, and then I went back to design school, got my master's, and here we are. So
I was a script supervisor myself.
Cool.
Yeah, which is you know, the definition of useless is to be a script supervisor on a Hallmark movie.
Oh, gee. Yeah, just a lot of sitting in the corner typing when people are talking. Yeah.
Not even typing. I set a stopwatch going. Well, it just like do a line reading when somebody flubs a line, but it's like, do we care about the time of the clock? No, we don't care about the clock time. Just time the scene and shut up.
Yeah, I was terrified of the whole thing. I worked for Larry Charles, not Larry David, but the other Larry. They're both on Seinfeld.
Yeah,
together. So yeah, I worked for him, and he was a good guy, but he was just very, you know, people didn't go home. I mean, they were there. And they stayed there, and that was their entire life. And it was just a lot. It was too much. The whole thing was very intense.
But
Oh
what,
yeah, I can imagine.
I'm wondering, what kind of lessons or techniques or whatever, how did that film past reflect in some way in Spires or Spires and Hildegard? What did you use that was useful for game design?
I mean, I just wanted to make my own little movie. It was kind of like, this is the movie I wanted to make, and how can I tell it realistically with the things that I've learned how to do? And I was like, the only way I can do this is, I think I can do it through design. I think I can design something that looks nice, and I can write all right. So I was like, let's just see if we can do it. I would love to make like a point and click adventure, but I don't know how to do that. So, I was like, this is what I can do. Let's see if I can make my little movie this way. So
A point and flip adventure.
Point and click.
Point and flip.
Point and flip. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought you were telling me like, yes. No, yeah, it is. It's a point and flip adventure. Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that. I've never I'm gonna steal that.
Go ahead.
What things were left behind? I mean, is there anything that you wanted to do for either of the games that you said, yeah, this would be a step too much.
Yeah.
Let's not do this. Let's.
Yeah, more art.
Okay.
It's always more art. I always want more. I wish I could have a unique illustration on every single card back and every single front. But it's just there's only so much you can do. Only so much the budget allows. So it's like I'm always like at the last minute. Last time I was like, let's get a few more cards in, a few more illustrations. I want more, because that's always my complaint with everything. Whenever you read it, I was like, there's not enough. I mean, I want more. I want more illustrations. I want to see more stuff. So I hate seeing the same thing on every card, and I've had to kind of do that with things, especially on the card back, the card fronts. Where I want every single card to be different. So I've had to, you just always want the more stuff for people to look at and have fun with. But that's really the only regret. I mean, I could make 1,000 card game, but it's just going to cost too much. So I'll do it in little increments.
Fair enough indeed. And what did you end up with that you didn't expect you would have in the final games? How did the process surprise you? Is I guess what I'm asking.
How did the process surprise me?
Yeah, of the
I guess just the volume, just how big of an endeavor it was. I thought it would be much simpler.
Okay.
And it ended up just being so difficult. And on the second game, I thought that I was like, okay, I've got this down. The second game is going to be simple. I'll do it. It was twice as hard the second time. Everyone's like, oh, it must have been a lot easier. I was like, no, it was actually so much worse.
I'm on my 5th and it still sucks.
It's so difficult, especially once you get toward the end, Well,
the thing is that there's 50 steps, and you always forget like 2 or 3 of them after the fact. You're like, oh, I forgot to do this, or it's just one of those situations that it's frustrating. I mean, even with my last one, I was like, oh, I should have done this, and the mistakes I realized I'd made. I'm like, it never goes away.
Yeah, well, let's see. I have 2% on my mic here, so we'll see if I can get through this thought. The the biggest thing, like on this last game, I was like, okay, I'm going to do as many things as I possibly can so that people won't complain about them. I was like, what are they going to complain about? So I went through all the things that I thought I had done, and so what did I find? What ended up being my Achilles heel? I put the status card at the bottom of the last deck because I put it with the supplement materials and I didn't say where it was. That has ended up being just scandalous. Like, I had no idea that it was like a card I made at the last second. And I was like, where do I put it? I was like, I'll put it at the very bottom because that's where like the 2-player and the supplemental stuff is. Oh, what a mistake. What a mistake. I had
You're the Antichrist.
Yeah, no, I had like professional reviewers like from big outfits, just one in particular, just smashing on me for that. Just I'm just like, dude, that was a last minute thing I tossed in there, and they're just like, who is this guy? He put the most important card at the very back and he doesn't know what he's doing. And I was like, I can't win. I tried to do everything, but you just never can.
Yeah, it's like take a Cinnabon, calm down, dude.
And the die versus dice thing that ended up being a big deal for me, because I just use dice as the sync as this. It went off. Is that going to work like this,
Well,
Yeah,
we can hear you.
or is it going to echo and cause some issues?
So far, I cannot hear you.
So
I
far,
can
so
hear
good.
just a
Okay.
tiny little bit. But
Okay. Well,
not hugely.
I apologize if you want to, chop this part out or something,
That's
or
all right.
pretend like we'll just pretend like I went away now at this point.
No,
But
no, it's okay. You go on. That's fine.
and what I was going to say was the die versus dice thing ended up being a big thing on Board Game Geeks, and everyone was complaining about that. And there was like 5 pages of people fighting. Why didn't you use die and dice? Why did you just use dice? And I'm sure everyone's got their opinion. I'm sure you guys got yours as well.
What do you mean the terminology of die and dice?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh God.
Yes, because I would say roll the black dice. And see, the thing is, there was only one black die in the game, and I didn't want to say die, 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 die all over the instruction booklet. I thought I just didn't. I don't like that. To me, it's like deer. There's one deer, and there's a bunch of deer. I've seen it done before, and my editor and I went over this, and he was like, "Dude, you do this. There's going to be some people that aren't going to like it."
Like,
And I was
how
like,
many?
"Nah, I
don't have enough black dice.
I was like,
Like,
it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. And it wasn't fine. People got real
The
angry.
narrator comes over your voice, and it turns out it wasn't fine.
It wasn't fine at all. I don't know. I just that was one of those ones. Is very surprised about. I didn't think it was going to be so offensive. But
Yeah.
so yeah, those
All
were
this
the
year,
yeah.
it's like Andy Dufresne thought he had a solution. It turns out it was die and not dice. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like the things what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
You try and please everybody. But yeah, to get all the way back, the things that were most challenging were probably the latter phase of both productions and how difficult it was with Chris, with all the things you were talking about, just all the things you forget, and
The waiting game is also the pain in the ass too.
Sure. I'm in the honeymoon phase right now because I'm just creating stuff and, just looking at pictures and just making up things. And, it's great. We're like, more ears on that necklace, more ears, Our cannibals need more fingers hanging off of them,
No, but you're right. I think people don't realize, and I say this as somebody who's published a number of books when I have my publishing business by myself. People don't realize how easy it is to actually make mistakes and forget about things when you're working on the same thing day in, day out, and the whole thing just blurs. It's very, very easy, and people don't understand that. It's very hard.
Yeah, I was terrified. I'm always terrified of typos. So, I had like 3 different editors. I had a guy from the LA Times say he would volunteer to, edit the booklet for me. I was like, great, this, and it just, so it kept going. And we didn't have, no one's really come at me with typos, but people have really come at me for things that they say are unclear and poorly written. And I'm like, man, I had the head editor from the LA Times on this thing. He seemed to think it was okay, but
Well, in fairness, I did find when I was playing Hildegard, and I play this kind of live, real time on camera, that there were some places where I have difficulties understanding exactly what is it that I was meant to do, which it means one thing and one thing alone, and is that you think too highly of the people who are going to read this, and you need to understand that we are way, way more stupid than we sound. And therefore, you need to really spell it out for people like me.
No, my excuse for some of this stuff is that when you're putting rules on poker-sized cards, my philosophy is use as few words as possible to say the most things. And oftentimes, when you have a pool of like 20 people, play testing and doing that, and you've got It's just I don't have the luxury of having, this isn't Mattel where I can have a million kids come in.
No, but this
so
is,
you gotta.
but this,
Yeah,
this was not in Spire's End. This was in Hildegard.
Oh,
That's where I
Yeah,
find
yeah.
that's where I had it with the whole rule booklet, and I thought at some points I am not sure I am getting this. I need this to be explained, for
Yeah.
dummies. And I think, and I say this as an instructional designer, which is what I do for a living, for a cybersecurity firm. It is really hard to explain things in a way that most people are going to understand. And there's always going to be a number of people that no matter how you explain things, no matter how you teach them, some people will not get it. And this is why I keep saying to every single board game company out there, hire a freaking instructional designer to write the rules, because it is its own science.
Yeah.
So
you got Paco. I'll hire you next time. Jesus Christ.
I'll be happy to take a look. But no, but it is a very, very hard thing to do. That's the truth.
Yeah,
so sorry.
Yeah, me too. I will toss you my instruction book for the next one as well.
Yeah.
You've already been. It's too late.
You got the job. The sales.
You've said too many things. You can't back on now.
No, I'll be seriously. I would be more than happy to take a look at that and say, I would go this way, and then you can ignore me completely if you want. But yeah, I will cast my instructional designer eye on your rules happily. I will be delighted to do so.
I'm always guilty of if I want it to look pretty, more than I want it to make sense sometimes. Sometimes I'll even.
But the thing is, the difference is now, and I guess I have some sort of bias because I understand how difficult it is. I don't get mad at it. That's I guess the difference between me and most people. If I don't understand something, I don't get mad. I could be a little bit frustrated at points, but I just try to unfold it somehow. And don't get me wrong, some rule books out there are really, really badly written.
Sure.
Horrifically badly written.
And it really hinders the experience too. I spent like an entire summer trying to get the rules on those cards, for the first game, making that work. Yeah, it was such a task, just trying to make that all kind of fit and work on that amount of cards. And to this day, I still don't know if it was, the right move, but I think it, as an experience, having the whole thing contained in the cards was kind of neat.
I did like that because it also the one thing I liked is that it gives you a sense of immersion pretty much right away, because you're not having to wait, read. No, you're there, and that is something that very few card games and board games do well. So from that point of view, I thought that was one of the best things about Spire's Ends, that it's literally no prep. You just open it and going. That's it.
Yeah.
So that was brilliant.
Yeah, those it ended up being okay. It was this tough. But
so when are you hoping to have Cannibal Island on whatever crowdfunding platform you choose next time?
I'm really up in the air about that because the tentative plan I think would be in the fall to crowdfund it, and I don't necessarily know if it's going to be on Kickstarter or if it's going to be somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But I'm not even 100% sure I'm going to kickstart it at all. I may just try and do it.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah.
Why would I do that? Because I wouldn't. There'd be so much I wouldn't have to deal with, and I could kind of use it as a testing ground, and I could just take pre-orders. And I have enough people now where I think I could sell a good amount of them, and I wouldn't have to deal with any of the politics, any of the garbage, pay any of the fees, do any of it. And at the same time, I think a lot of the pressure would be off too, because this game's going to be a little bit more out there. So, I could kind of take in what I learned, and then maybe I could do another version of it on Kickstarter like later on. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm just trying to think about it. Like, how can I make this work? And maybe keep my sanity a little better. The last one really wrecked me pretty. I mean, it was mental I know there's a lot of problems in the world, and I realize having a successful Kickstarter isn't one of them. So I'm aware. So I don't want anybody to roll their eyes and think, oh, poor that guy. But it was stressful, and it did really, you mentally is tough. Yes. So I'm trying. So yeah, so I've been considering it, but ultimately I'll probably just end up at Kickstarter, and it'll be in the fall, and we'll just roll like we did the last 2 times, and.
Well, have you considered getting somebody to run the campaign for you, so actually you don't have to deal with that sort of crap?
I'm just started. I mean, I've done everything myself for so long that that it's hard for me to kind of do that. Like I do fulfillment all myself here as well. So I'm designing the game, and then I'm packing boxes, and I do everything. So I'm just starting to realize that I can have a warehouse in the UK, and I can send things off from there now. I'm like, this is kind of nice, maybe I could free myself up. But yeah, no, I'm starting to finally think about these things as things are starting to get a little, as the company's starting to grow. And I've been talking to a lot of fun people, like the guys at Themeborn, because they're in a very similar situation where they started making games that are very similar, and well, not similar, but similar enough to mine where we have like a little camaraderie. So I've been talking to them, and they just did the Last of Us game. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah.
They got a partnership with I'm forgetting the name of the company now. Why am I forgetting that? Naughty Dog and all that stuff. So I'm learning some things from them, and yeah, I don't know. I've lost the thread here. I've gone off on another tangent.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I really, seriously, if anything for you, I really hope that you get somebody to help you with those, whatever it is, campaigns, because doing it by yourself is pretty hard, and you probably deserve the help and don't deserve the shit. So I hope you don't get it.
Oh, fulfillment's terrible.
So okay,
turning into a support group for Kickstarter.
Yeah, I thought I know. I reckon that some people could do with it seriously, because I know how bad it can be. So is Spire's End going to come back into production? What are your plans for Hildegard and Spire's End?
Spire's End is almost sold out. I have like 50 left or something. And then Hildegard, I've got a bunch because, I was able to, because it did successful enough where I've been able to have stock of it. So I'll have that. And I think I'll just kind of, it seems to have a life and it seems to have legs. So I'll probably just kind of keep regularly ordering more. I've had a lot of, people come to me for localization in other languages and things like that. And nothing's been solidified yet. I've been very kind of, I don't want to say standoffish, but I've been very prickly about what I'm going to do with it. But I think I'm at the stage now where I'm going to start to let go of a few things. So, I mean, if that's what you're asking, I would like to localize it in the near future and just continue to be able to sell it. I mean, I don't want it to go out of print or anything, because it does seem to be, I'm happy about the legs that both games are having so far, which I didn't expect. So yeah, and then on the third game, I want to build up the catalog. I want to be able to have, a library of fun stuff that people hopefully can, discover and play. And I would like to continue to do it as long as I can, keep my sanity. So,
which is quite important. So, will we? And this is the obvious European question. Are we ever going to see you around here at Spiel?
Well, I'm at the diverting just slightly. I am going to be at the UK
Games Expo.
Yeah.
Okay.
But well, my game is going to be there. I'm not going to be there.
Oh.
They have a thing where they'll have somebody that will kind of coach the game, and they'll be demoing it there at the ShipQuest booth.
Yep.
So yeah, so it'll be there. So I'm excited about that. It's the first conventional I've ever been, had a presence at. I don't know. I'm a little, I don't know about being out there in the world with people and stuff. They're all an acquired taste. I'm afraid. So we'll see. And not to make it even more, I don't travel much.
Okay.
I'm like one of those guys, so kind of like a weird recluse around here. So just kind of make games in my garage in the dark.
Fair enough.
But-
No, that's fair enough. It's a shame because it would be great to have you at Spiel, and I think
it's
a great
one of
place,
one of these days. We were trying to get into Comic-Con in San Diego, me and Diego Frias, the artist, and be in Artist Alley and do that. But it's just so crazy. You can't. I mean, we have to try and get in it like for 2025 or something. So
heavens.
it's nuts. You know, I was like, well, what do we even? I was like, I don't even know if we're going to be around then. You know. So
Of course you will. Come on.
yeah,
You
but
will.
yeah, I'd love to get out there somehow. If we could trank me and put me in cargo, and I could just wake up over there and do it, that would be cool. But
There you go.
not anytime soon.
Okay. Well, hopefully it will happen at some point. It would be good to have you on these shores. So fingers crossed indeed. I don't really have any more questions.
Yeah,
'cause,
No, I'm good as well.
I'm a fairly long-winded fella when I get going on here, so and
You
I had
have no idea.
prior to talking to you guys, so I do apologize. I can really flap those lips.
No, and I'm really sorry because I really thought that we had arranged to see each other today. So as you can see, organizing myself is not my best skill.
Oh well,
But
Came off
hopefully we'll have you back when, regardless of what you do with Cannibal Island. It would be great to have you back and talk about the game and more cool stuff.
yeah, let's meet up again. I'll maybe as it's getting closer, maybe I can toss you some mechanics and things, and you can take a look at some stuff. Give me-
I'm making that offer genuinely. I would be more than happy to take a look at your rules and have a instructional designer's eye cast on it and give you some proper feedback. So by all means, I would be genuinely happy to help.
All right, well, you may get to hit up on that one, so
Good.
we'll see how that goes.
Good. Greg, thank you. Thank you very, very much
Thanks,
indeed.
Greg.
You've truly been everything I was hoping and more. So I appreciate you coming. I appreciate your games. It's Spire is a true favorite of mine. And I very much look forward to a very successful career ahead of you.
All right, well, I had a lot of fun, and I hope to do this again sometime.
Definitely. Definitely, yes.
All right, have a good time.
Have a good one, mate.
Yep, later.
Well, and that was Greg Favro, and I think he is a brilliant fellow.
I got to get this game. It looks really cool.
It is seriously good. I mean, I know that I am very easy to talk good shit about games because I like talking about games I like rather than talking about games I dislike, even though sometimes I do. But Greg's Spire's End, he really has a lot of legs. It's so good. I played recently another game, a similar solo game, massively produced, called Ayla and Something Shiny. It's a game from a Hong Kong company called Ice Makes Games. And it is basically the same kind of game. It's a solo game, and you have some cards and you play them, and depending on what you choose, of the options given in the card, you go one way or another. Except that
I should have pulled some strings to get a review copy.
Well, you better hurry because
Apparently, there's nothing left. It
No,
doesn't have much stock. Yeah.
no. By the time you ask him, there would be nothing at all. So, anyway, it was very good having him around. So we still have a few minutes, though, if you want to talk about the rest of the stuff that you had in mind, and we can talk about the hot topic that I wanted to bring for next week.
Oh, did you want to hold off till next week then?
I think so, because we've been at it for an hour and 28 minutes, including 15 minutes of no audio. So I think we've been going on for enough, and this has probably been the most
So my two
chaotic
topics can
thing.
wait till next. My two topics can wait as well. I was going to talk about some of the two big updates on AI that happened last week.
Oh, no, sorry. And we need to talk about that now. I'm interested. Sorry.
Both ChatGPT and Midjourney, both around the same time, came out with new evolutions of their software. Midjourney is, like I said, I've been working with my artist Nick, and we've been using Midjourney as a tool of conveying information. And most of our issues is with previous versions is that it has a tendency of making things look very digital. And the new version 4 is a lot more creative. It likes taking more artistic risks, and it can also create things that don't look like digital modifications and digital translations. And the most important thing is that it has combated, it hasn't solved 100%, but it has combated the many finger problem. Things don't look as mutated or as non-symmetrical. So if people were claiming, oh, I could spot AI art easy, with the new version 5, it's getting increasingly more difficult. With ChatGPT, they came out with a new version 4. I have been employing it. It's a great way if you submit a story. Like I fed it like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of Amethyst stuff, and I said, hey, I need some ideas for some backgrounds. Have you have any ideas? Or sometimes I asked her to give me names, and it said, and it immediately said, here's one, and it presented a background. And it had a name. It gave a 2-paragraph background. But the part that I felt that freaked me out was, let me just do it properly, is that it presented the background exactly as D&D does. It presented it exactly the same way. It listed the proficiencies, languages, equipment. It listed the feature, and then it had the specific characteristics, the ideals, bonds, and flaws. It listed all of them in order without asking. So it knows, like I had a friend when he was doing with the 3.5 legacy version, he wanted to do a couple one-shot adventures. He had to load the entire SRD into a chat for it to understand what was going on. This new version 5 doesn't have that limitation. You say, I'm making an adventure for D&D 5th edition. It's like, okay, I know how to play that game. And it is way more creative, way more inventive. It still has, I think, certain issues with repeating itself, but its memory is a lot better. But the fact is that if you were making a module and you could say, here's, I need a room, I need a cavern room entry, give me a description and what you can fight. And it'll write the entire encounter for you. The fact that I asked this thing to say, give me a background, and then sometimes I'll say, hey, this is a Vespid diplomat. Give me a background for the Vespid diplomat. And it just creates it whole cloth, the whole thing. And if you tell it, no, I want it presented this way, it will rewrite it and then represent it in the way you want it. The creativity has gone up a lot. It's still not a particularly good writer. I have to rewrite a lot of things. But it's great for generating names. Because I'm a person that needs a name first before I create a description. Sometimes I'll bang my head against something. And it had some really funky ideas that I hadn't thought of that got me going off in tangents I hadn't thought of. It is creepy how effective the new Generation 4 Chat GPT. The irony, of course, is that it's been down for about 2 days now because something happened. They had a server fail, and their history is temporarily unavailable, so I can't even use it right now. But that's fine. I'm still. It's a way of help closing up issues. I'm not using it as a crutch or as a slave, but it's going to be increasingly more. So yeah, the same way as artists are worried about the deluge of AI art. Now I'm worried. I'm not worried about people like creating something to the complexity of Amethyst, but if you're a person that creates one-shot adventures, it's going to be really difficult to compete now with this swell of AI-generated artwork, with AI-generated dungeons. You could create everything within the AI with just a few prompts.
I've been saying this since I saw for the first time ChatGPT. People are concerned about Midjourney and Stable Diffusion and that sort of thing. The threat that image generating AIs pose is nothing, absolutely nothing, compared with the threat that ChatGPT presents. Nothing. Because there is one thing that ChatGPT can do and will be able to do even better in the not so distant future, and it is real-time answering to questions.
Yeah.
The moment that they can, to give you an example, the moment that they can add some sort of analysis to whatever it is that's put in versus what's put out. To give you a proper example, one of the things that AI is wanting to do is doing job interviews.
Yeah. Well, there's a story about a chat GPT or a chat AI that had been placed as a president of a company.
Correct. So the moment that becomes really good, we are going to be in trouble. A lot of people are going to be in trouble, because the moment that happens, it will mean that ChatGPT's content could become completely indistinguishable for that content created by a human. So a company like mine, for instance, where we create an awful lot of content about cybersecurity and awareness and training materials, right now I can go, and I have gone to ChatGPT just to prove to my boss that one of the people that we had working for us wasn't very good. I went to ChatGPT and asked them to create the same structure that person was created for an infographics, and the structure that GPT came with was better. It was a lot more on point, a lot more modern, and a lot quicker. Especially a lot quicker.
Wow.
So the moment we saw that, we thought we could probably fire now, I don't know, 5 of the 12 people we have creating content, and our customers would never notice the difference in the quality of the content we give them, because we would only need to rewrite this, not write it from scratch.
Yeah, I think in the era of journalism is going to be, when you're dealing with blogs and journalistic entries, that's going to be the problem. I mean, my field isn't under too much threat. No one's going to hire an AI to write a script. There'd be too much blowback.
Because there is a movie out there that has been completely created by AI. The script, the art direction, and the video, the whole thing.
Yeah, but there's the big difference when it comes to Hollywood is that the unions are extremely strong in Hollywood, and it'll be hell to pay the moment you start cutting the Writers Guild or the Directors Guild of America or the Producers Guild of America out of the system. The Writers Guild has literally paralyzed the entire filmmaking industry in Hollywood. So that's one of those situations where the moment Hollywood is like, we're not hiring screenwriters anymore, we're simply doing AI, the Writers Guild will basically throw up in arms.
But the thing is, I don't think that's ever going to happen. They're simply going to tell somebody, here, we're going to pay you to generate something using AI. Or somebody is going to generate something using AI, come to Hollywood and say, hey, look what I bring.
Yeah, but I said, currently, I'm not terribly worried in my field. It's one of those situations where I always think of the line from The Matrix when somebody made a comment just recently saying, when I was young, I was watching The Matrix and I laughed at the fact that the humans thought that the late 1990s was the pinnacle of human civilization, and I laughed at it. And now 20 years later, I'm like, nope, actually they had a good point. It's just,
I think again, I really think we need to. I mean, I don't know where there was a lawsuit against Midjourney and Stable Diffusion and all these AIs for theft of the intellectual property of other artists. I don't know where that is going, but I don't think they will be able to do the same with ChatGPT of bringing it to.
That's the problem. We can't. Yeah, it's just one of those situations. This is where I've been talking to people when people talk about AI evil. I'm like, well, are you going to help us writers whenever we are out of the job? I don't see you screaming. And the fact, and the irony, of course, is that I use ChatGPT But I think it's a valuable tool for writers to help them. But
again,
obviously, it's going to.
This is what I've been saying for months now, and I've got some flack for it. Learn to use the tool, even if you then choose not to use it, but learn to use the tool to your advantage, because if you don't, then somebody else will. Does it suck?
Yep.
Yes, it does. Is it unethical? Probably. But is it going to be necessary? Absolutely. Or you will find yourself much difficult situation. That's just the way it is. I like the idea of being able to create an image. I prefer the idea of being able to create an image and then know that there are no ethical implications, when I know that there are ethical implications. But until that frame is created and set, people, you have to learn how to use AI. Otherwise, I am sorry, but you will be eaten alive.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's like I said, that's exactly what I'm on the board with, is making sure that I keep tracking progress and making sure I don't get left behind. Because as I said this numerous times, and I've gotten into arguments with people where we've talked about this, and I always say the same thing: is just like, you can't protest this away.
No.
Nothing has ever in history ever been protested away.
And the thing is, to people who, by the way, completely and utterly support and respect the choice of not wanting to have AI in their products or not wanting to support AI. Totally cool. Absolutely fine. Please, please, please invest your energy in supporting the artists who are not going to use AI, rather than investing your energy in trying to get AI away from the scene. Because I promise you, it ain't going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Simple as that. For as long as AI can be developed to A, make money, and B, commit crime, AI will never, ever going to go away. Not Midjourney, not Stable Diffusion, not ChatGPT, not any of the other 1,000 AIs out there that are popping every single day. They're never going to go away. We are entering the age of the AI, and we are not going to close that door behind us.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, I think that's it. Next week we will talk about paid reviews and paid previews. That's a little teaser for next week. Spoiler.
Not so much a spoiler, but spoiler.
Yeah, exactly. So, humans, thank you very much if you have endured this absolutely atrocious live session, which I really need to get to grips with how to do this live without making a mess. Because, I feel kind of bad for today. But
we're good. We'll cut the first 15 minutes out and we'll just jump into it.
Yeah, I think I will have to do some editing on this. But humans, thank you very much indeed for being there. It is truly and genuinely appreciated. Please get in touch. Thank you very much for ARP Craft Publishing for your help today. It is much appreciated, and please do get in touch and say hi. We'll have you on the show. We'll talk about your game, and we will be very, very nice to you because you've been very nice to us. podcast@gmsmagazine.com. Find me in Facebook as well, and in Twitter. Next week, I will probably also talk about why I'm using less and less and less Instagram and using more and more and more TikTok. And I think a lot of people are going to want to do that for publishing and advertising their games. And that's it. I'm done for today.
Yep. This is Chris from Deus Ex Machina. You can find me at Deus Ex Machina on every single social media platform.
Ta-da! Goodbye.
Bye. And it must be like 1 in the morning.